Good evening. My name is John Marshall, and I want to change the world. A lot of us do. That's one reason we might attend an event like this, because we not only want to explore things that are made in the future, we want to help make the future. But all of these great things that we're going to talk about tonight, innovations and social causes, even education, they have a common necessity. They all require leadership. If we're going to change the world, we first must learn how to lead. Tonight I'm going to talk about leadership, and I'm going to talk about a particular vision for that leadership that I think we'll all agree is true and obvious, but it's overlooked. I was reminded about this in a great book by someone named Todd Whitaker. It's called What Great Principals Do Differently. I read it every summer in anticipation of a new school year. And my talk tonight is just to remind you of this thing that we know is true. He said, effective leadership is about people and not programs. What he means by this is that we spend too much of our time and energy focused on the plan, the scheme, the initiative that's going to solve our problems, and not enough time recruiting, empowering, and challenging the people that will really solve them. This isn't a new idea. In fact, I like how anthropologist Margaret Mead put it. Her words are on the screen behind me. What if we are that thoughtful group of committed citizens? What if your group is? She's right. It's the only thing that has ever changed the world. We're not leading like this. We're not running our organizations in this fashion. This is the reminder to do that. In education, my field, we're in the middle of a program epidemic. We spend a lot of our time focused on the plan and not enough on the people. I sincerely hope that the race to the top, or STEM, or No Child Left Behind, or charter schools will change the world and fix education. I really hope they'll lead to the technological innovations that will allow my son to one day travel to outer space. He's 3, it's all he ever talks about. I sincerely hope that they will lead to the innovations that cure terrible diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer. But you know what will cure cancer one day? A really smart person. One that's committed to the cause and dedicated to finding that solution. And one that's in a situation where his or her talents are allowed to thrive and she's allowed to be great, or he's allowed to be great. That's what's going to solve that problem. Innovative leaders are realizing this across many fields. There's maybe no greater program in the world than the United States military. They're powerful enough, and they're precise enough. They have a procedure for the proper way to button a shirt. But their leaders are concerned about something else. They're concerned about getting the right people in their cause. In his first speech as Secretary of Defense, Ash Carter went to a high school and implored the next generation of students to join in his fight. See, he's worried about having the right people to fight cyber attacks that are going to dominate the wars of the future. He's got a great program. He's looking for programmers. The medical field is the same way. Great access to technology, great funding, but the person in the room, the doctor in the room, still makes significant difference on the health outcomes of that patient, and not just his or her expertise, but their level of empathy and communication skills. So much so that forward-thinking medical schools are now adding courses on empathetics and communication skills. It's the person that is having great outcomes. In education, we know the research is clear what's going to make the difference. But we spend a lot of our time focused on which curriculum we should use, which testing program we should require, the right class size, do we have the right technology in the classroom. But the number one school-based factor in determining the success of our students, it's the teacher in the classroom. If we want to make great students, we need to attract and make great teachers. They will change the world for the 30 or so people they stand in front of each day. I learned this firsthand recently as we set out in my school to solve a significant problem. We're looking at solving the retention issue at the 9th grade and tracking at-risk students all the way through the 12th grade to make sure that they graduate and are being successful. So here's our problem. We did what we should do. We started to research. We hit the books. We scoured the web. And we started looking at what's being successful nationwide. We saw some tutoring programs with some success, and then saw some that didn't have it. We saw outreach programs to families with some success. Some didn't have as much success. We thought maybe it was a discipline issue. If we kind of crack down and are really harsh on discipline, that would lead to success. Or maybe we get an initiative program, an incentive program that rewards students for doing the right things. Or maybe it's a mentoring program. That usually makes for good headlines and a good Disney movie. Maybe those programs would solve our problem. And then we saw inconsistent results. Some were doing great things and then others weren't. Then we realized what we were doing. We were looking for a program. We looked a little deeper and saw the ones that were having success had dynamic leaders and committed staff. So that's what we did at our school. We looked within our own building and found the people that were going to make the difference. We found teachers that were willing to give up a chunk of their summer to work with at-risk kids. We found a few that gave up their planning period, yes, teachers in the room, their planning period, to work with students with a history of discipline problems or academic issues. We didn't stop there. We found students in our school who were willing to give up a class of their own, in some case an elective class that was going to be a GPA boost, to sit in the room with those at-risk students and help them. We put these great people in a room with the students that needed them the most. It happens in our building 1st, 2nd, and 7th period right now. And magical things started to happen. I went by First Block the other day, and one of our peer mentors, a 12th grader, was running a pretty impressive World History 1 tutoring session for the 9th graders that she was working with. She hasn't had World History 1 since the 8th grade. I'm convinced she's going home at night and studying an online textbook on this subject just to prepare herself, to prepare her students for their test. During 7th block the other day, I was in my office and a young man, one of our peer mentors, walked by with 2 of his 9th graders, dragging them towards their science teacher. He was having them apologize for not turning in a project on time, so that the teacher didn't get the perception that these were that type of student, and so the students would be forced to say, I promise I'll turn it in tomorrow. And they did. These were students doing these things. And the teachers are unbelievable. They're obsessed with the success of these students in a healthy way, obsessed with the success of their students. Except for they've now gone through 8 huge Costco boxes of Pop-Tarts because they found that 14-year-olds work better when they don't have an empty stomach. They came to me this week to see if the Pop-Tarts could be used as an incentive economy to see if to make students do their homework. I'm still wrestling with the ethics of that. None of these things were in the plan we put on paper this summer for this program. I didn't tell anybody to do any of this. But what we got were the right people. They took leadership and ownership of it, and they're what's making it great. Now, don't get me wrong. You need a plan. Dr. King, his plan for nonviolent resistance, nonviolent protests was brilliant. And it was the only thing that would have worked in his place and time. General Washington's, he had to have strategy to survive long enough to bring the right people to his cause. The plan matters. So do the people. When your turn for leadership comes up, and it will, if it hasn't already, when it's your turn to lead, this is just your reminder to focus on people. Because programs are tempting. Beware the allure of the program. They give us control, and programs sound really good in meetings. They look really good on a resume, or program coordinator looks really good on a LinkedIn profile. But they don't make the difference. It's committed, intelligent, and hardworking people, and the leaders that recruit, empower, and challenge them. It's those things that will change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Good luck, and thank you.